So, welcome to Ben. Thank you for the greetings. Yep, finally, stint 6, penultimate stint. After stint 5 wasn't really meant to be. There was a disconnect and some lobby bugs, and it was a shortened race. Hopefully now everything works. Start will be happening soon. We have a formation lab. If you have seen one of the earlier stints, you're familiar with the procedure. Essentially a formation lab and then a rolling start and a one-line formation, and then off we go for 51 race laps. So, drivers are ready. Those have started the final. Let's go! Fingers crossed that everything works. It wasn't an easy day. So we see the grid order as it stands: Jules and Johnny, both for DLL, leading their groups. But COC and RC are not that far off. And that's looking good. Yep, everyone can drive from the line. Amazing, great. So, let's go through the field. Jules is leading. The only LMP1 car that isn't a Toyota. Jules is driving the Porsche. In second position we have COC. P3 we have RC with Paul, Frenchman, driving on his home circuit. P4 Heuländer Zocker for RLO. P5 Swander Speck, Dutchman. P6 next RC team, R player. Then we have a short gap that's planned between both groups, both classes. There is meant to be a gap for the start. DLL Johnny, his first stint of the event today. Then Q-Meister is following him. Very interesting to see, as DLL and COC have been fighting very closely the last stint, how this will develop. P9 Confi user. At this point, thank you very much, Confi, for all you have done today. Confi not only raced but commentated too and managed a lot of things in the background, so thank you very much, Confi. Good luck to you. We have Tyler in 10th position in the grey-green Nissan. Looking good. And I call him JR. I think that's the easiest way to pronounce it. For the second RLO team. In P11. So, Jules is... Oh, Chanty. That's a bit late, unfortunately. Jules is controlling the pace for quite a bit now. After the Porsche corners, actually after the Corvette corner, the formation lap ends and there will no more waving, no more tire heating or braking, strong acceleration. They will drive with a rather slow speed in a formation onto the grid, and from the start-finish line up to the end of the pit lane. In this area, the leader of each class, so in this case Jules and Johnny, can freely accelerate, and with that starting the race of their group. It's estimated to have a gap of around 30 seconds between both classes, so we can watch the start of the first class, of the group 1s, and then go back to this field, the group 3s. And that's working quite well, 27 seconds. Spot on, Johnny. Now, focus on group 1. Jules now slowing down. Everyone gets behind. Target speed is 80 kph, and from that speed onwards they will accelerate in starting the race. Penultimate stint, 6 hours to go, 3 hours distant, and then the next stint. last 2 chicanes, and then we finally go here in Le Mans. Last corner, round about 80 kph is the aim. When does accelerate? Really early acceleration from Jules. Now Jar Jar in second position gets a draft. P3 very close, and P6 our players may be looking for a move already. We see Soccer attacking Paul, and they somehow managed to get through. No big contacts. Well done from everyone. Somehow Jules had a mistake and Jar Jar got the lead. We are jumping back to Group 3. It seems Johnny has now accelerated and is leading Zhang Q. And Maximum Motorsport in P10 also looking fighty for the first turn. Very close to Confi. A lot of curb there from Johnny. I hope there wasn't any penalty involved now. Confi sliding a bit, and now we go back to Group 1 because Jar Jar has managed to stay ahead of Jules, who has the slipstream now but decided to stay behind for the moment. It's not that much involved about pure pace. It's really a strategic game here because the slipstream is so important and strong. You really can't afford to lose it, and it's also a great tool to save fuel and have shorter pit stops or do strategies that wouldn't be possible or that easy without it. So Jar Jar is leading. What is Group 3 doing? Johnny has got the lead back, but it looks like Thank You Meister is not attacking. Very close. Wow, Confi, nice drift, defending against Tyler. Nissan, very popular car in DAS. So, back to Group 1. Jules is under a lot of pressure. The gap to Jar Jar has opened up a bit. It's above a second. That's crucial because that means no slipstream for Jules. And Paul in P3 is very close behind him and should overtake him. And Jules doesn't fight it really because there's no real chance to defend such an overlap. It's important now to get into the rhythm and use the slipstream of the drivers ahead and work yourself back into attacking and fighting for the first position. We see that here the fourth driver Spec has a time penalty. Now is the time he needs to sit this penalty, take it, and he does. Rejoins safely, well done. And that's Johnny with a 2.4 second penalty. That's massive at this point because this will lose him not 1 but probably 3 positions. That's a really bad start for DLL. We see Zhang Q is not even trying to attack because he knows that after the next 2 corners Johnny has to drive onto the right side of the track and burn that penalty, and he get that position free. Confi and Tyler will take also a position up, but Tyler is really looking racy and could make some troubles for Confi. We see Johnny's losing 1 position, and now the second and third, and Tyler's really close, but he's not going for the move. I think there was a small touch, but Confi can hold the line and is back. Bit of a gap already to JR. And another big news, we have 2 penalties from the both leading cars. Jar Jar with a half a second and 1.5 seconds for Paul. That means that DLL with Jules can go back into the lead. But that takes so long. Jar Jar has burned its penalty. Where's Jules overtaking and getting first place back? Jar Jar drifting a bit into that corner. Great to see those cars so close together. Another penalty right here for Zucker, 0.3 of a second. and then we have the gap. Confi has a penalty, 1.4 seconds. That will allow Tyler to drive past him, and that's also good news for St. Q-Miser, because he has a great lead of 1.6 seconds, and the car behind him doesn't have slipstream. They can't work together to close the gap. That means Tyler has to close the gap purely on pace and can't rely on slipstream or such things. We see Confi on the right side of the track, was left in the picture. Tyler goes by, Confi has to yield the position, and maybe Johnny can profit from that. Let's see, where is the green car? On the same height, but oh, that was close and aggressive. Confi had to take the runoff area. That could cause another penalty, but I think Confi couldn't go anywhere else. That was very aggressive from Johnny, and I think a bit over the top, because Confi is coming back at him right now thanks to slipstream and could return the favor. Oh, that was close. I don't know if Confi braked later or Johnny braked early. Group 1. Jules is leading pack by 8 tenths. That's crucial, because 7.5 tenths is the magic number. You want to be ahead of your opponents, because that's slipstream range. But with Jar Jar and Paul that close together, they can give each other slipstream and close the gap to Jules. Not the best lap, of course, thanks to the penalty. Same for Paul. A lot of curb again. Hopefully that was within track limits. They have already managed to create a gap of 4 seconds to Svender, who has Zucker behind him. That's close battle too. We look what P2 and P3 is doing and then switch to that battle again. Paul, with a lot of slipstream, could make the overtake. Yeah, he's having a look for it. Goes by. COC in 3rd position. And here you see an attack, but not successful right now. Confi had to burn a penalty, lost ground in the meantime to Johnny. Johnny is in 2nd position of the Group 3 class, and St. Q is leading ahead of Tyler. Nice drift and passing maneuver from Zucker. Managed to get past Svender. But now, obviously, the cards have changed and the Slipstream Festival starts once more. I've driven 2 stints and I was in similar situation. It's a bit of a weird thing. You have your opponent, the one person you want to beat, on track with you, and in a way you work together for the race because you give each other slipstream and try to save fuel at the same time. And I had this with Ridwan from Maximum Motorsport, where I gave him slipstream and then we changed, and we exchanged position quite frequently, but it never cost us time. We gained from the other, and that's something that should be considered by Paul and Jar Jar. They have to close that gap somehow to Jules. On the other hand, Jules has to drive in front and escape a bit. because the fuel consumption of the Toyotas are better than the of the Porsche. It seems obvious at this early stage that those three are in a class of their own. Zucker 5 seconds adrift, and then we have our player in 5th position, Svender in 6th. The gap between the Group 1 and the Group 3s is almost 2 minutes, so we will see some lapping not so far in the future. Svender is in the pits with a lot of damage. Engine damage, front bumper and front left tire. I didn't see it when I was last on him, but this is an unscheduled early pit stop. So that destroys the strategy, obviously, and he has to make it work and think of a new one. In the meantime, Tyler is closing a bit. Seems that the Maxim Motorsport driver has good pace at this stage, and crucially could come in the draft of St. Q Meister. And Confi has overtaken Johnny once more. The Mercedes driver is ahead of the Toyota. And JR holding on. At front, nothing has changed. In fact, the gap opened up by half a second. And it's really difficult. You have to be very focused all the time. In a way, it's a bit like a time trial, where you have to push and set a qualifying lap after qualifying lap, because you can't afford to be involved in a battle. Paul has created a gap himself to Jar Jar, who lost out a bit, and Zucker is coming slightly closer, so maybe he has a word for the podium too. Svender is back on track, 6th position, and yeah, a big gap to 5th place. But it's a long race, we're going 3 hours in the stint, and he can definitely make up for it. And this is going to be interesting. Tyler 8/10 behind, just missing out of the slipstream. It's closing in more and more lap by lap, and he's definitely closer every lap. So a lot of pressure for St. Q Meister. Absolutely on the edge, both drivers performing strongly here. Then we have a short gap to Confi and Johnny. Confi managed to drive himself outside the draft window. No slipstream for Johnny. And we see JR in the middle of this very long straight, and the Group 1 cars already entering this long straight. They are at the beginning of the 6th lap, and yeah, probably in the 7th lap, not in this lap, they will catch the Group 3 cars. And this is a very interesting, because everyone is so close together this early in the race, and this could create opportunities to get away from an opponent, but also to lose time and get an opponent closer to you. I want to thank the livery designers. I saw here DLL, RSC's, COC's livery. They all did a great job. I really like all liveries. They did a great job. Soccer lost some ground. But this team is holding on strong. Big respect and applause also for the RLO team, who joined on very short notice, weren't that familiar with the car, with the track, and even with the game. They are in a Formula 1 league, also competing in the upcoming Formula 1 races here in the ES. But weren't that familiar with Gran Turismo and didn't host Gran Turismo League, so they stepped in starting from zero, and now they're here and not that far off the podium. So really great job from them. I should said that. Commentator curse, time penalty, and almost hitting the wall there for Soccer. I better switch to the next driver. Our player finding himself in the middle of nowhere somehow, while Svender is trying to close that gap. I think he is managed to doing so. Not much, but a couple of seconds. We missed the overtake. Tyler got past ZenQ Meister and is now leading. Maximum Motorsport is leading the Group 3 class ahead of COC. Crucially ahead with 1 second, so no slipstream for ZenQ Meister, but the Toyota has a slight top speed advantage over the Nissan. We see it 1 second, 42, 37, 30, 24, and so on. So there's a lot of pressure right now on Tyler because he has to nail those chicanes to stay ahead sufficient enough to don't give slipstream to ZenQ Meister. We see the gap 1 second, now under 1 second. The Nissan has some advantage in those chicane corners, and he has to make it worth every turn. Great recovery from Comfy, and Johnny's in 10th position, doing 39s, and is 12 seconds ahead of JR, who is lapped by Paul and Georgia and has now P4 behind him, if I see that correctly. There in front is the white COC Toyota. Here we have the Merc from RLO. And we see Soccer behind him. Driving for the same league, so I assume they communicate in a party. And no complications here with that overtake. Jules lost some time. Paul got closer and is crucially in slipstream range. We see that he is closing down. That could have something to do with traffic. We see they're closing in on Confuser, and it's really important where you hit that traffic. We see that Jules is not able to overtake Confi ahead of Indianapolis, so he has to stay behind, find a way past. Bit of a misunderstanding. Confi has still the inside, is ahead, and this allows Paul to get past. Very unfortunate there for Jules. No offense to Confi. Was a weird spot. Wanted to move away from the racing line, and Jules wanted to go passed, and I think they just misunderstood each other where they wanted to go. That allowed Paul to get by, and Jules has to wait one more time in this corner to get past St. Q-Meister. This opens the gap once more, and traffic hits bad for DLL again. Tyler is overtaken, lapped by Paul before the chicanes, and Jules has to wait behind the chicanes to make the move. And that quickly, 1 second lead for DLL turned down to being 2 seconds behind. COC Jagger went through the traffic better, closed the gap I think a bit. And that's the beauty of multi-class racing. We see Confi and Soccer. Soccer went by him easily, but lost a little bit more time, almost 10 seconds. Our player P5, Swender. Now it's 46 seconds, last time was 48-49, so he's getting there. Nice engine sound from the Nissan. Tyler managed to stay at 2 seconds. Confi is in the meantime apologizing to Jules. I don't think he did that on purpose, obviously, but there was just a misunderstanding about fair play to him. We're in the 7th lap for the Group 3 cars, and pit stops aren't that far away. We see usually pit stop lap 8, 9 or 10, and then we will know what the strategy is. Are people driving full beans all the time, or are they saving fuel and try to do the race with one pit stop less than their opponents? Pit stop loses a lot of time here, around 45 seconds time loss. So to get free 45 seconds, everyone would take that, but to do that you have to save fuel, and that could cost you 1.5 seconds maybe per lap. So Jules lost the lead, and now it's going to get interesting if he can fight back, close the gap once more and attack Paul for the lead. COC lost a little bit this lap. I wonder if this was due to time penalties. As you all know, it is very easy to get a time penalty here in Le Mans. Track limits, I feel like, aren't always consistent, so you really have to know where you're going and leave some margin for errors. Thank you, Ben. Oh, slow pace is a stretch. They're doing all great, and I think some of them are already at their second stint, some at their third, I think. So it's only natural that they aren't at 100%. Now Jules got a 1.5 second time penalty. That will hurt him badly, because it allows Paul to get away, but also for Jager to close right in. Slower laps than previous. Yeah, if we look, he did 22s low, 21 highs, then another 22 low, and the last laps were a second slower. Well, I think Jaja has a smile now on his face as he sees that Jules was almost 5 seconds at and is around about 2 seconds now away. So thank you very much for 3 seconds. Paul, in the meantime, is flying 19.9, 23.8. I think that was with traffic, and then 20.7. So very strong pace from the RC driver. Zucker maintaining the gap to the front. Not gaining really, but he's not losing, so that's something. And again, on their debut, that's a very strong performance. Our players still in P5, and great job from Swender. 39 seconds. Closing in and closing in. Great job. This is not over for him. And then we'll check again on Group 3 as Tyler has managed to extend the lead to 5.5 seconds. I'm curious who is stopping in which lap from the Group 3s. Now is an opportunity and an indicator that they're doing one stop more than some others. If they stay out, that could be an indicator that they go for a stop less. Lap times from Tyler, 56.3, that's good. 56.4, also okay. And then 2 57s. Seems like the Nissan feels the tire wear. If you look at the bottom, we see that the rears are a bit in a better condition than the front tires. So that will bring him a bit more understeer. And I think especially here in the Porsche corners, Corvette corners, he will feel that, and he's going to lose some time because of that. So on course for another mid 57, if I indicated that gap correctly. Let's see if he's going to pit or is he going to stay out. One more lap for him. ZQ Meister 6 seconds behind, stays out as well. Confi stays out as well. In P10 we have Johnny. What is he doing? Staying out as well. Personal best is indicated here. JR. And even though he's in last place, it's not easy to continue to fight, even if it looks like nothing is going to change. And that for 3 hours. So great that he's holding on. Last lap was really bad for Jules. 23, and lap 7 was 26, so 2 slow laps. Besides that, he's rather consistent. 20.7, 20.4, 20.7 and 20.7 again. Bit of traffic and stupid time penalty cost him dearly. But he's managed to get away from Jaja again. The gap was around 1.5 to 2 seconds. Now it's up to 4 seconds. As a DLL driver myself, I wouldn't mind if he would close that gap. Great to see those cars flying through that corners. Absolutely flat is the second, third corner of that complex. And again, such high speeds at the end, coming out of the Corvette corner on the straight. Just great to see. Let's compare lap times. 3 minutes 23.1. 4/10 quicker went Jules, 22.7, and Jar Jar with 25.1. That wasn't a good lap at all. Soccer 22.8, great lap. He's hanging in there. I think he needs a bit of luck, perhaps bad luck for other drivers. But if he continues to do what he's doing now, he maybe can join the fight for the top 3. Very close to the edge of the track, at the curb and at the entry of the corner, so you can see he's pushing, he's trying, he wants to close that gap. Svander, another 2 seconds gained to our player. And will be interesting to see what his strategy is going to be. He lost obviously a lot of time in the pit stops. But he's coming back now with 22.6 personal best. And that's a very decent lap time. Tyler leading the way with almost 7 seconds and is now to pit. ZenQ is following. Confi is close because ZenQ had some not terrible but not great laps with a 4-minute flat and a 3:59 and now a 58. Confi we see 58s, low 58s and even a 57, so Confi is coming and closing gap more and more. Great driving. Tyler is pitted, Johnny is still somewhere in the pit lane, and JR coming to the pits as well. If you look at the fuel indicator, that's blinking red, so he has to pit. Tyler back on track, 9th position, has a gap of 20 seconds to Confi, so approximately 22-23 seconds to ZenQ Meister. There we have the DLL car, very close on fuel. Nice sound of the car. Joining in 10th position, and here we have JR for RLO. New set of tires and fuel please, and then we go again. Jules is in the pit lane a lot earlier than Paul and Jar Jar. We see they can drive a lot longer. They have 25% of their fuel left, and Jules is absolutely at 0, literally at 0. Very interesting to see where he will come out, as our player is very close to his pit exit window, so that will be close. The crew is changing the tires. Now fuel, our player through the chicane. Jules still standing. Our player is ahead for the game and has driven past him. Okay, our player is ahead of Jules, who's entered the pit lane now, by 3.8 seconds. Let's look at the fuel, and that's 1 or maybe even 2 laps of fuel left for our player. His pace isn't that strong as Jules, so we probably will see them fight for position on track. A bit of a strategic piece that RC has with two LMP1 cars. Jules has to make sure to get past him quickly and then get away quickly. Don't give him too much slipstream and invite him for a counterattack that would just slow him down. And in the meantime, we see that Meister has to yield 7th place as Confi merges ahead. We see ZenQ is blinking red. There are just a few pixels blinking red actually. So there's nothing left in this fuel tank, while Confi had just a little bit more. Not much of a difference. Both are going to pit right now, and it will be interesting to see where they will emerge back on track. Yeah, 1 liter left for ZenQ Meister, 4 for Confi. Here we have Tyler, and Tyler's go is back to the pits. It seems like Tyler must have changed tires, but pressed X once more and didn't refuel the car. He has 2 liters left. Tyler was easily in the lead, and has forgotten to take fuel. I can't believe it. I was wondering why he was only like 20-25 seconds behind Confi and Q, and I thought, yeah, okay, maybe my calculations were wrong, but he didn't took any fuel. That's the reason why. Who's driving? Okay, here we have Confi emerges ahead with 3 seconds. Nice drift. Has to let his RC teammate by. Lost a bit of time there, but is, yes, not comfortably, but is with quite a margin ahead of ZenQ Meister. Surprisingly lost a lot of time in the pits. We have Johnny now in 9th position thanks to an additional pit stop of Tyler. He could make up that position. Tyler probably furious with himself for that mistake. Cost him a lot of time. We see at the lap times 4 minute 30 and 4 minute 34. A lot of unnecessary time loss, and has to serve a penalty on top of that. Okay, but we also know that he has great pace and he will recover from that, but it's a long way. Zucker behind has a penalty as well and should have burned that penalty on that straight. He didn't do that, so that's something for the stewards. Here we see our player just ahead of Jules. But Jules on the inside for the next corner, just ahead. Small contact under braking, and our player is defending hard. And Jules is really in a spot where he doesn't want to be. He's not in a slipstream, but he's on the other side. He should save a bit of fuel, get back into the slipstream, take all the momentum back, and then overtake him. He's doing that now, but I'm afraid that's too late on the straight. He's having somewhat of a look, not really. And our player is ahead for at least one other straight, but managed to push a little bit there. Lost momentum. That invites Jules once more. Our player's really doing Paul in first position a favor here. And now Jules finally passed him. Our player tries to hold it around the outside, but there's no way to do that. Now back on the straight, Jules probably has to give up that position. Toyota is on the outside for the next 2 turns, but has just more momentum. We see is 10th ahead. Jules has to box in and wait. Very frustrating for him, driving behind a slower driver and not getting really past, because it's so difficult to escape. You have to pass the driver and get away with it. 7, 8 tenths at least to be sure that you can hold that position. And this time it's not enough. That would be a good spot for an overtake, because you have the Porsche corners and short straight just after that, chicanes, the start-finish straight, and that's really places where you don't see overtakes frequently. So if there's a good chance for a break where you can break free of the car behind you, it's there. Our player finally into the pit lane, and yeah, that has cost a lot of seconds. We see Jules' last lap time was a 3:20. This was a 3:27 almost. That's 7 seconds right there in 1 lap. So well played, bar player, holding that, holding him behind. That cost Jules massively. In the meantime, Jar Jar's still driving. So is Paul. They're going to drive 14 laps. Paul has a 2-second time penalty he has to burn. And we have our player and Swender both in the pits. Swender coming into the pits with a time penalty as well. Our player just leaving the pit lane. Very interesting to see that the gap is 47 seconds between Jules and our player, so that's about the time loss you have with a pit stop. Now Swander rejoins track, and yeah, heads off to his drive. After being almost 50 seconds behind, he managed to cut that gap in half in just 10 laps. Great effort. Conti doing an amazing job. 7th position overall, but first in class, and 4.5 seconds ahead of his closest rival, COC. Here we see Thank you getting lapped by Jules, and that's something you really don't like to see as an LMP driver, where Thank you changed lanes. He did that really early and stick to that line afterwards, but it's always a question, can I trust the other driver? Johnny is still ahead of Tyler. Did a 57.8 as a best lap, so that's an improvement. We see at the early stages 4 minutes and 3 minutes 59s, and he better holds that pace. Tyler is closing in. 1.3 seconds, so there's probably not an overtake happening this lap. We see the top 3 are pitting, and that begs the question, where is Jules rejoining? Better saying, where are the others rejoining? Can Jules come out in the lead? 2nd place, 3rd place, he lost a lot of time. And the answer is, whoa! There's a massive gap between Jules and Paul. Jules in second position. COC and Soccer still standing. And 8.5 seconds, and only 6 seconds were in one lap where he had to overtake the other RC car, and that must be very frustrating now for Jules. Nice gap though for Paul. We have Jules, 6 seconds is the gap to COC. And Soccer lost ground. Gap was 6-7 seconds, now it's 16 and he has to serve a penalty. And has to lap Meister. Another time penalty. Serving the penalty really early because he doesn't want to overtake and then slow down in the same lane. Now finally back to full throttle. But he's still hanging in there, only 35 seconds after almost an hour of racing. What's Group 3 doing? Blue flags for Confi, that means traffic is arriving. We see Arlo with Zocker is right behind him. So Confi, great lap, 3 minute 55.7 personal best, and every lap in the 55s for Group 3 is a very strong lap. So Johnny still hanging in there, but Tyler's closing in. Not much left until he is in slipstream window. I said Johnny better hold this pace, and he does. After his personal best, he was just 2/10 slower, but he made a mistake. A bit weird. I was just checking the times, and he lost a lot of momentum. I don't know if he let him by and takes the slipstream. That's our player here. That's the driver I want to show you right now. He has to... Well, he's coming close to two Group 3 cars. Let's see how he managed that. Outside, and there's a lot of contact, not ideal. Yeah, and Johnny was pushed wide, and that looks very close as well. I wonder if Johnny has a time penalty because of... Yes, he has. That's very unfortunate. Oh boy. Paul's flying. His outlap was a 3:18. Obviously you save a bit of time in the outlap because of the way the timer starts, so it's not representative. The fastest time 99 is very fast too, obviously. And he's managed to extend the gap to Jules to 10 seconds. Looking really good for them now. And Jules is not driving slowly, anything but that. We see 21.6 and a 20.6. Those are good lap times too, but he wasn't very lucky with traffic and lost a lot of time. There are multiple occasions and doesn't seem to have the edge over Paul, who has great gap to him. P3 Georgia 6 seconds behind. Seems to have finally found space again. After very slow times, we see after 23s and a 22, even 25s and 24s, again with a 20, mid 20, and seems to be driving a personal best again. Let's compare lap times then, shall we? 20.7 for Paul. Jules with a 22.6, that's almost 2 seconds. And 21.6, so Paul flying. Jar Jar right there where you want to expect it, and Jules is struggling. That wasn't a great lap time. So we'll look back what Group 3 is doing. Johnny, after he had to burn that penalty, lost touch with Tyler. We see Zhang Q is at Svender. Svender goes past them in the Porsche corners. Zhang Q's doing mid to high 57s in the last couple of laps, and Confi is extending that lap more and more. .58.5, yeah, obviously there was some traffic, and Zhang Q Meiser has definitely enough time to ride to Svender. Seems that he wasn't really happy with the way he passed him. Svender going past Confi here on the outside, having trust and the grip, obviously, in this car to do that. Confi with personal best. Confi's really flying now after he left the pits. Only 55s, and this is an amazing pace. After Zhang Q added the Svender, Svender took his time to reply with the same add message. Confi probably thinks, okay, they can fight and write in chat whatever they want if they take their time, and I can merge in front, build my gap, so be it. I shouldn't have said that. Right at that moment he cuts the track too much and awarded himself half a second time penalty. obviously not what you're looking for, but he can afford it with a great gap of 11 seconds. Tyler's coming back though, after his mistake in the pits. He's now under 10 seconds behind that group. Johnny, you see him there on the top of the hill, disappearing a bit now in 10th position. And JR in P11 is facing some traffic now as the group 1s are coming. Bit of slipstream and right past them, 270 to 240, so 35 kph difference of top speed at that point. Wow, you overtook him on the straight and you just barely see them in the next shot, and not even in the same shot after that. Paul met the backmarkers in a good spot. Let's see how fortunate that is for Jules and Jar Jar. Looking okay for Jules, but could be a problem for Jar Jar. Let's see. Bit of slipstream. The other driver sees, makes a lot of space, and you can just drive past him. That's a perfect scenario. You wish you would have that every time. We have CUC. And I'm afraid they have to manage that backmarker. No, it seems they get him before the Porsche curves. Or do they? That's close. Unfortunately not. Drives around the outside. JR sees the white Toyota. Soccer. Yeah. I said in the beginning, you see he's pushing, he's trying everything, and it feels like, yeah, missed the line there, touched the wall there. He's still trying, but it's not working for him anymore. Oh, that line wasn't, yeah. Somehow got it without penalty, but Soccer seems to struggle right now. We're 1 hour in and it's a long way to go, and it's not easy to hold concentration up for the whole time, to don't allow some silly mistakes, to be alert with your player with a tight line and opening up, so not ideal too. Oh no, Swander with another damage to his car. We see the front bumper, the rear bumper, and 2 tires are blinking red. Oh no. He was working so hard for his comeback and was closing in impressively on our player, but I'm afraid another additional stop will bring him back so much that he can't really manage to get anything better than P6 out of his own he needs some assistance, some luck, bad luck for others to make that work. That sucks, and that will put him with a gap of 2 minutes, somewhat close to the leaders, to being lapped. Wow, Comfy's flying again. After a 3-minute 57, thanks to time penalty. He's right there where he left. Great pace and extending lead to Zhang Qiu to 13 seconds. Yep, that's another great lap. 56.6. Great job. Great job. Considering the tire wear, that's a great job. As Swender now behind him, who pitted. Last time they were in a similar situation and Swender overtook Comfy in this corner on the outside. This time he's going for the inside. No real time loss for both drivers. I'm afraid Comfy could have gotten a time penalty. Swender definitely has a time penalty. Seems like Comfy got away with it. It's not easy for Group 3 in that corner when Group 1 has just overtaken you, because there is dirty air and you don't really experience dirty air that much or that strong, and you're always on the limit on that corner anyway, because it's such an important corner with a long straight. You want to get as much momentum onto that straight as possible, and then you're missing just a little bit of downforce, and can get tricky with track limits fairly easy at that point. Tyler still closing in, doing a good job after his mistake. And it seems like Johnny is getting some visitors. We see one LMP car behind him. Yep, that's his teammate, that's Jules. And flies past him. Here we have Paul. We just saw Jules, so good visualization what 10 seconds look like. Paul cleared Tyler at the hairpin of the long straight. Now has clear. Zhang Qiu, that's a very, very fortunate spot for both drivers, not losing time. I don't think it will turn out this great for Jules this round. Clearing Tyler ahead of the Porsche corners. But I think next driver Zhang Qiu will stand a bit in his way. I'm curious to see what Tyler can manage in this stint. We're not that far off halftime of the stint, and his mistake brought him from first in class to second to last, and now he's fighting. He's currently third in class. what he can do. Jules got fortunate here with the back marker. Thank you. Now leading the class and has plenty of fuel left. We see roughly 25%. Tyler 25%, while Confi has no fuel left at all. So Confi is probably going to have to make one more stop than rest. In the meantime, I claim my channel points. Johnny is in a pit lane. That's a scheduled stop for him. I have to say, I really like that Mercedes AMG, and the livery is also nice. At the front, nothing has changed at the moment. Jules is biting at the gap, but he's managed to get only a few hundreds here and there, at best a tenth, but Paul is controlling that race. Jules has to pit this lap anyway. And Paul, yeah, with half a fuel tank left, he can do one stop less, so it's really looking good right now for RC. Whilst Jules has to fight, I don't know, maybe even for his second position. CUC is doing one step less as well, so it means over 3 hours Jules has to drive 50 seconds of a gap. Obviously he has no need to save fuel, and I think the Porsche is a quicker car on a lap, but it appears that the Toyota is very sufficient in fuel management and is not losing much time with that. So virtually Jules is ahead by 16.4 seconds ahead of Jaja, but in reality he has to drive at least 30 more seconds of a gap to stay ahead when he does one more pit stop. We see Jules is coming into the pits right now, and he will lose his lead over Jaja and maybe join Soccer. No, he won't, as Soccer has damage to his car. He's probably going to repair that, I assume. Rear bumper and the left rear. Also, Soccer didn't really care too much about his time penalty. So Tyler went in the pit. Soccer continuing despite having damage to his car. Where's Jules coming out? Has he another traffic to face? It appears like it. Now he's driving. Who's coming out ahead? Jules on track. Doesn't have the momentum though. Soccer just behind him. I think Jules can now extend the lead. Soccer has a time penalty and some damage to his car, so he shouldn't be in a position to attack. So I think Jules is really relieved that he doesn't have to face another car to fight with that car just after exiting the pits. Soccer has to burn the penalty, and he does that. Our player has lost a lot of ground to Soccer, almost a full pit stop. Swender driving a bit, yeah, what means a bit is at the moment he's driving completely on his own. The gap to 7th position is completely irrelevant, as it's another group. And the gap in front is really big. 1 minute 37, almost 100 seconds. And the car you see in the background, that's Paul, that's the leader. So, unfortunately, Swender sees blue flags not only because he's going to lap JR, but because he's going to get lapped himself. JR stays on the outside of the track, gives space, and Swender, I think he hesitated a bit because he wasn't sure what the other car was about to do, but gets past without much delay. Lap times weren't really strong. If we look, went to the pits. His outlap was 29, which isn't great in the first place, but then he hit 4:26, which is horrible. He must have been in the pits as well. Last lap was a 3 minute 30, which isn't great as well. If we look that Paul is doing lap times 10 seconds or almost 10 seconds quicker. Okay, maybe there was something that we didn't saw. Something, mistake, a penalty to burn. This pace isn't what he's looking for, definitely. Oh, that was close. There could be another penalty. Yeah, indeed, it was. The car was over the track, touched the curb. I thought he could have been maybe fine, but it wasn't. And yeah, probably soon be lapped. Confi. He's doing one more stop, so he's a bit out of sync. But he's 26 seconds behind Thank You. Remember, a stop is 45 to 50 seconds. He has one additional stop to do. That's why he's behind right now. Or our player is furious probably right now because Confi closed the door on him. But yeah, Confi's racing his own race, and our player had no option but to wait a bit there. So Confi's behind, but will emerge ahead now as Thank You is going to the pit lane, and yeah, then we will see what the gap is. In total he needs 45-ish seconds, so it's still a long way. Thanks to his strategy, Confi can attack every lap, every corner, while Thank You has to look after his fuel, and this is losing time. So it's really interesting to see those strategies fighting against each other. We have Tyler virtually in ahead of Thank You for a moment, but now Thank You has rejoined. 45 is what Confi is looking for. 19 is the status right now, so he's on the way. What I meant to say, it's really interesting to see those different strategies fighting for a victory here. You don't know what is going to work, you don't know how close they are. It depends obviously on traffic, on where you come out. We saw that Jules lost time, for example, in traffic. Those things can play into that, and we are comparing strategies. They came in after 9 laps at the same time. Well, then we have different strategies for 2.5 hours of the race, and they're fighting against each other. They don't see each other. They know the other guy is 20 seconds ahead or behind me, and they're fighting for 1 hour 40 minutes around that with an opponent they don't see. I think that's really yeah, motivating, and has charm of endurance racing. Despite you don't see the other car, despite you don't fighting wheel to wheel, you know you have an opponent to beat, and you're going for the long solution. I wonder if Confi is aware of Tyler and that he's closing in on Zhang. Chat, I'm going to have a short break, 5 minutes. Write me a driver you want to see for that time. Then I select that driver. I'll be back in a couple of minutes and then we continue. So if you have a favorite driver, write it in the chat and I go on that driver. I'll be right back. Oh, nice drift on JR. Wow, Paul leading by 32 seconds. Jules behind by a minute. That's a lot. I mean, even if they pit P1, P2 right now, he won't be in the lead by approximately 15 seconds. Okay, you'll be shy. Then I stay on Jules because this is already his third stint. He's fighting really hard and he deserves some spotlight. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes.